Today is March 12th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today we're going to be making our way through the testimony about the pioneers in AA. This is pioneer number 4, our Southern friend, pages 212 and 213. And out of the 12 and 12, we'll be journeying through step 9, the second half of page 84. So with all that, my friends, let's get right to the good stuff. So if you recall from yesterday's reading, our Southern friend, he's starting to rely on alcohol quite a bit. His good old buddy, John Barleycorn. He tries to enlist in the Army. It doesn't work out because Armistice Day comes up, so he doesn't get drafted he gets drafted, but the draft's canceled. Before that, he's having to drink just to pass his tests. After the draft gets canceled and during the Great Depression, he's drinking a whole lot more. I don't know if his life has completely become unmanageable, but you can see the regression here, or you can see the progression in the disease working in his life. So we're going to continue with that thought on page 212. We'll be reading 212 and 213 today. The doctor bills are heavy and the bank account is low. My wife's parents come to our assistance. I'm filled with hurt pride and self-pity. I seem to get no sympathy for my illness and have no appreciation of the love behind the gift. I call the bootlegger and fill up my charred keg. But I do not wait for the charred keg to work. I get drunk. My wife is extremely unhappy. Her father comes to sit with me. He never says an unkind word. He is a real friend, but I do not appreciate him. We're staying with my wife's father. Her mother is in a critical condition at the hospital. I can't sleep. I must get myself together. I sneak downstairs and get a bottle of whiskey from the cellar. I pour drinks down my throat. My father-in-law appears. Have a drink? I ask. He makes no reply and hardly seems to see me. His wife dies that night. Mother's been dying of cancer for a long time. She's near the end now and is in a hospital. I've been drinking a lot, but never get drunk. Mother must never know. I see her about to go. I return to the hotel where I'm staying and get gin from the bellboy. I drink and go to bed. I take a few the next morning and go to see my mother once more. I cannot stand it. I go back to the hospital and get some more gin. I drink steadily. I come to at 3 a.m. The indescribable torture has me again. I turn on the light. I must get out of the room or I shall jump out the window. I walk miles, no use. I go to the hospital where I have made friends with the night superintendent. She puts me to bed and gives me a hypodermic. I'm at the hospital to see my wife. We have another child, but she's not glad to see me. I have been drinking while the baby was arriving. Her father stays with her. It is a cold, bleak day in November. I have fought hard to stop drinking. Each battle has ended in defeat. I tell my wife I cannot stop drinking. She begs me to go to a hospital for alcoholics that's been recommended. I say I'll go. She makes the arrangements, but I will not go. I'll do it all myself. This time, I'm off of it for good. I'll just take a few beers now and then. It is the last day of the following October. A dark, rainy morning. I come to on a pile of hay in a barn. I look for liquor and can't find any. I wander to a table and drink 5 bottles of beer. I must get some liquor. Suddenly I feel hopeless, unable to go on. I go home. My wife is in the living room. She had looked for me the last evening after I left the car and wandered off into the night. She looked for me this morning. She reached the end of her rope. There's no use in trying anymore, for there is nothing to try. Don't say anything, I say to her. I'm going to do something. I'm in the hospital for alcoholics. I am an alcoholic. The insane asylum lies ahead. Could I have myself locked up at home? One more foolish idea. I might go out west on a ranch where I couldn't get anything to drink. I might do that. Another foolish idea. I wish I were dead, as I often wished before. I'm too yellow to kill myself. All right, guys, so we can see here his life is certainly getting unmanageable. We will come back to this in just a minute. All right, guys, so out of the 12 and 12, we are journeying through step 9, which is make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when they do so would injure them or others. So in the last paragraph we read, while we may be quite willing to reveal the very worst, we must be sure to remember that we cannot buy our own peace of mind at the expense of others. So we're going to finish off the page 84 today, just one paragraph. Much the same approach will apply at the office or factory. We shall at once think of a few people who know all about our drinking and who have been the most affected by it. But even in these cases, we may need to use a little more discretion than we did with the family. We may not want to say anything for several weeks or longer. First, we will wish to be reasonably certain that we are on the AA beam. Then we're ready to go to those people to tell them what AA is and what we are trying to do. Against this background, we can freely admit the damage that we have done and make our apologies. We can pay or promise to pay whatever obligations, financial or otherwise, we owe. The generous response of most people to such quiet sincerity will often astonish us. Even our severest and most justified critics will frequently meet us more than halfway on the first trial. All right, so while this is fresh, one thing I thought of, for me, I'll never forget, and this kind of goes back to what was just mentioned in the Big Book. It makes me think of it as well. But I'll never forget when I finally decided to go to a certain recovery group. My life was unmanageable, and I was caught in all my lies. I was drinking all the time. I was hiding it. My wife caught everything. I mean, she was very concerned, and my children were very little. And the guilt and the shame I felt, it was terrible. Terrible, because I was hurting not just me, obviously, but I was hurting the people I love the most. My beautiful wife, who I'd grown up with, my best friend, and my 2 little children. Long story short, I remember the evening of my bottom. I remember that I was in the kitchen and I looked my wife in the eye and I said, honey, I'll do anything. Please don't go. I will do anything to change. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know what it's going to be because I've tried so many other things already and it's not working. So maybe this recovery group will help. But I saw her face, my wife's face in the kitchen. I'll never forget it. It was a look like, yeah, right. Yeah, we'll see. I held her hands and I said, just give me time, okay? And she didn't believe it could happen. I was afraid it wouldn't happen either, but I didn't want her to go. And I was willing to try anything. So finally, I make my way into a recovery group. And that's when I heard all the similarities and I started working the steps. But the reason I bring all this up is it takes time. If within that very first day that I went to a recovery group and I'm all excited, I've got a copy of the Big Book or whatever book I need, and then I come home and I'm making my amends, I'm saying I'll never drink again and all these things, she would have continued to look at me like, yeah, right. I can only speak from my experience, but it takes time. And for me, it took months and months before my wife finally started to see that I was changing. And I give all glory to my higher power. All glory. Because I can't explain it. I don't know how it took the way it did. But I am so grateful it did. And when I was about a year sober, one of the greatest moments of my life, I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about it, was when my wife presented me with my 1-year medallion. And Again, I give all glory to my higher power. It was not me. I believe my higher power worked through the people who helped me work through these steps so that I could sit on that bench with him again, overlooking Newton Creek, and he can have his protective arm over me. Oh, man. But, making these amends so fast, being overzealous at the very beginning, they might not take. I think it takes time, it takes willingness, and it certainly takes, for me, my higher power working in my life. And going to our buddy over at, our Southern friend real quick, he's struggling. Oh, I feel the pain and the guilt that he feels. I mean, I just talked about it. His poor wife is having a child and he's drinking. His father-in-law watches him drink. Meanwhile, his father-in-law loses his wife. I mean, it's a dark 2 pages. But how dark it is before the dawn. Things will get better. I mean, there's a reason this testimony's in the big book. So I have faith things are going to be better for our Southern friend. And I have faith that you're going to have a great day today. At the bare minimum, if we do not drink today, it is a good day. And I am so grateful that you decided to join me in this lifeboat of recovery. Hope you all have a good one, and I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow.